Hello, everybody. It's your daily report with Angry Tim. Today, I wanted to talk about something in the housing industry you don't hear a whole lot about. It's ADUs. They're called accessory dwelling units. That's kind of a new fancy name they made for them. They used to be called in-law suites, casitas. In Hawaii, they would call these ohana units, and Hawaiian ohana meant family, so kind of like in-law suite or something like that. But this thing has been, these ADUs are becoming really, really popular now with people. Either people who already have an existing home, they're adding these ADUs, they're converting, for example, a garage into like a little one bedroom rental, or they're adding like a tiny home to the back of their house. Some people are converting a basement into an ADU. It's different from renting out a room in your house where you have like a three-bedroom house and you rent out the master bedroom. This is a whole separate, it's like an apartment. It's going to have its own entrance, has its own kitchen, bathroom. It's totally separate from the main house. So whether it's the basement or a garage, you won't have access to the main house if you live in one of these ADUs. So a lot of people are building them, and that, I guess, whatever the cost to build it is, you make a great return on your investment. Also, people who are trying to buy, their first home because it's very unaffordable right now. If they can find a house that already has one of these ADUs on it, you can use up to 80% of the rent towards your income towards the mortgage. So if you couldn't qualify for a mortgage of maybe $3,000 a month, but a house had an ADU on it and it was renting for, I don't know, let's just say 1,000 a month, you can use up to 80% of that as your income that'll go towards the mortgage. So if if you're looking for a house in a particular neighborhood and you were just priced out, but if you found one with an ADU, it might make it possible to qualify to purchase that house if you use the rental income from that ADU. Um, in Hawaii, these have been around for ages. It was kind of always illegal, but um, they frowned upon it, but they didn't really actively come out and shut you down if you had one. It was just kind of everyone had one. It was all over the place, but no one really did anything about it because affordability was always an issue in Hawaii. Sometimes you'd have three or four families living in one house, and it was crazy the kind of things they had. Actually, the first house I bought in Hawaii was it was a two-story home, and the previous owner split the first floor and second floor and made that into two different units. And then he took the first floor and split off like half of it. So it was like a one bedroom, one bath. And then the other side had like a one bedroom, or I forgot exactly how it was split up, but he turned it into like a 3 unit apartment. And that's what a lot of people were doing there. So, the only way I was able to buy my first house was because of these 80 or Ohana units. So I lived in the smallest room, the little one bedroom, and then I rented out the whole upper floor, the second floor, and then the rest of the first floor I rented out, and I lived in that little one bedroom corner basically. But they basically covered all of my mortgage by being able to rent it out that way. But again, if an inspector had come or the Department of Planning people came down, they would have shut me down. But um, everyone was doing it. It was just that's just how it was in Hawaii, and it's crazy because when you go down these streets in Hawaii, there's one house and there's about 9 cars parked. It's just because how many people are living in each house. There's like so many of these rooms and conversions they do that. Parking is a serious issue. There's just cars everywhere because there's so many people living. It's supposed to be for one family, but the upper floor they have a family there. They split the downstairs. They turned their garage into a rental. So um, yeah, it's crazy. But this has been going on for years in Hawaii because it was just so unaffordable. But now, just even in the mainland, just in any old town, it's happening here in Nevada, Las Vegas. It's really big in California. That unfortunately everyone almost needs to do this now to be able to buy a house or just to stay in their home. With the cost of inflation, if you can't afford, insurance is going up, everything's going up. Maybe that's the only way you can stay in your home is to convert your garage into a one bedroom rental ADU, or you add a ADU, like a tiny home, into your backyard. Or some people are adding an ADU on top of their garage, so they can keep their garage for their cars, and they just add like a one bedroom rental above their garage. I have some more stats here on this. Um, Talking about the rapid growth. So in 2009, about 1% of the homes in the United States had these ADUs. 10 years later, in 2019, that number is 7%. So 700% growth in 10 years. I mean, that just goes to show how unaffordable everything is. The permit increases. This is an example coming out of California. In 2020, permits increased by 75%. In 2022, the permits are increasing by 253%. So the amount of people trying to build these is huge. One of the main reasons people like these ADUs are typically built on the same lot as single family homes. They can be attached to the main house, detached, or even converted from existing spaces like garages and basements. They usually have a kitchen or kitchenette, bathroom, sleeping area, making them self-sufficient units. Sorry. Um, and also local zoning laws have been changing. So where a lot of places were really strict, single family houses only, you only have one house. You couldn't add your garage or something in a backyard. Um, Everyone's realizing that the problem, the affordability, the housing issue. So they're starting to allow people in neighborhoods where it wasn't allowed to start adding these ADUs to their property. Just out of curiosity, I did kind of a Las Vegas rent. So a typical okay, so a one bedroom apartment in Las Vegas right now rents for about $1,249 to $1,359, and in Las Vegas a one bedroom ADU rents from 1,200 to 1,800 a month. That high might be, I would think it'd be a little cheaper than an apartment. So I don't know if the 1,800 is quite accurate, but we can say it starts around $1,200 to rent an ADU and about $1,249 to rent a regular one bedroom apartment. Um, I also got some of the costs involved. This is based on Las Vegas numbers, but if you were to convert your garage into a ADU, so it's going to include everything. It's going to have a kitchen, a bathroom, a bedroom. It becomes like a little mini apartment. 60,000 to 150,000, depending how fancy and how large your garage is. But on the low end, about $60,000, you can turn your garage into a rental unit and maybe get about 1,200 a month in rent. If you have a basement, about the same, 60,000 to 150,000. You can convert that basement into a rental. If you wanted to build a detached one, like a tiny home or something in your backyard, that gets a little more expensive. 100,000 to 216,000 to build a detached one. So maybe the detached one can get maybe 1,500 a month versus the garage conversion. And if you wanted to add an ADU above your garage, that will cost you about 128,000 to 225,000. So you might ask, okay, who would rent an ADU? Apparently, almost everyone. They say young professionals, often seeking affordable housing close to urban areas, would rent ADUs. Students, both high school and college students looking for convenient and affordable living options, rent ADUs. Elderly adults, seniors who want to downsize but remain close to family or in a familiar neighborhood, rent ADUs. Extended family members, adult children, or relatives who need temporary or long-term housing. I bet there's a lot of parents out there, for their kids that can't afford their own place, maybe building ADUs so their children have a place to live. And I don't know if they're charging them rent, but that I haven't looked at that. Just seeing if parents are doing that, but I bet there are a lot of parents building it just so their kids have a place to, especially if the kids got married, maybe they have kids and they're renting and they're trying to do something, but they can't find a place. Maybe they're putting them in an ADU, and then when their kids finally move out and buy their own house, the parents can rent out that ADU and get some extra income. Um, so it's very popular for people if they're trying to find a house to buy. If they can find one with an ADU, that helps them qualify for the mortgage. And if you already have a place and you're looking for extra income, maybe you don't need to buy a whole nother house, but you can just maybe turn your garage into a rental for $60 to $100,000, and that's an easy way to start bringing in some extra cash. It's a lot cheaper than going out and trying to buy a whole new house and getting a mortgage. And I heard that some people were able to separate and sell an ADU. So I'm not sure how that works, but if you had an ADU in your backyard, I guess you can split up your lot and you can sell that to the renter if they wanted to buy it. I need to look more into that, but that's something I heard people are doing now. So they're selling off their backyard with the tiny house to someone. And for them, that's maybe the only thing they can afford is like a little tiny home in someone's backyard, but they'll own it. They'll get a 30-year mortgage on it and that'll be there. So it's kind of crazy where we're going with this. It's, signs of the times, I guess. But let me know are you someone who bought an ADU, house with one, and you're renting it out? Some people call it house hacking. Or are you planning on building one, or maybe you built one? Let me know what your experience is. In Hawaii, again, that's everyone does that. They'll buy a house, they'll split it in as many rooms as they can. They'll add little kitchens to each section. So sometimes a house would have like 3 or 4 kitchens in it because you'd have 4 families there. So it was pretty crazy. Um, but that's just, they call that island life. So that's how it was. But I never thought I'd start seeing it out here in the States, but apparently the whole country is having a housing problem. So we're going to see these ADUs everywhere. And I don't know how they're solving the parking issue because there was no parking in Hawaii. It was a big problem. So if they're fitting all these families into these houses in suburban neighborhoods, I mean, the parking issue is going to be a serious problem. But let me know your thoughts on all this, and I'll have more for you soon. Your friend, Angry Tim.